Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of the DX Rumble Tusk Megazord from Power Rangers Ninja Steel. No box, the box is identical to the Ninja Steel Megazord box with just a different Megazord that's a different color, which is kind of like this, so no need to go over it. I've already wasted 15 seconds on it. So this was an interesting choice. Probably one of the most controversial decisions out of the Ninja Steel line. The main event is right here. The Elephant Zord is the official auxiliary Zord. He's meant to be a little elephant guy that can transform into a robot, and then he can combine with the Ninja Steel Megazord by taking the place of Red in the control panel area. And that's the thing. You know, usually they're just little individual Megazords, or Zords, excuse me. So, but they decided, instead of selling you this guy individually with some sort of gimmick like a star or a little unpainted figure, they decided, let's make you buy an entire Megazord that's repainted. Now, I was split on this. On the one hand, I like when they do stuff like this because I personally like US created stuff and like to see what they do, and I kind of like the way the Megazord looks. But I think it's a terrible decision business-wise because you have to buy a full-on Megazord to get this one little figure, or one little guy that you mainly want. And as you can see, they're mainly just repainted, which is what we were doing at Dino Charge, which was fine, because you didn't have to buy them. You didn't have to buy a yellow or a black Dino Charge Megazord to get an Ankylozord or something. I think I would have liked this better if they were slightly remolded. It saves money to repaint, for sure. But what you should have done is repaint them, but then slightly remold them to make them something different, make them unique, make it more exciting. Dragon doesn't even have his wings. Maybe make his wings like elephant ears or something weird. I'll do more of a wrap-up rant at the end, but I just wanted to make note of that. I'm going to take a look at them all individually. We are going to start with the main event here. I'm going to cut away to taking a look at him, his little robot mode, in comparison to his Japanese counterpart, which was sold. Okay, so here they are sound by sound, side by side with Paonmaru, and honestly, they're pretty similar. The main difference is there's this color here, but everything else looks to me to be mostly the same. There's very minor differences in terms of what they left out, but the thing that makes it stand out more, because I can definitely tell it does stand out more, is just the way that it's painted. It's got this sort of gloss to it, especially the eyes are really shiny and nice, but like they got the main features of it. It's just about the way it comes off, also the way the plastic looks, because the things that are left out are actually very minimal. So like if I were them just to make this better, I would have just brought up the paint a little bit and then made the tusks a little bit bigger to accentuate them, because like right here they're kind of a little bit longer and they stick out, and these just seem kind of small and you can barely even see them, so I think that would have helped. And then there's the obvious difference of this having a full-on shuriken in the middle. I mean, this has it too, but I mean this has the sound one that's all thicker, so it makes it a little bit bigger. But there's a definite difference here. This guy's smaller, but it's like at the basis it's very similar. It's just there was a design choice, or not a design choice, just like an aesthetic choice that brought this one up a little bit. Okay, but so while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and transform this guy into his warrior mode, which is very simple. Just basically yank everything off. Yank this off, stand this up. His little warrior head is out there. Take this piece off, the shuriken, set that aside. This snaps on. And then these are going to go on top like cannon pieces. There you go. And there you have his little robot mode, which actually I quite like. And I'm going to transform the other one in a minute just to show you what they look like side by side. But I think this looks pretty solid in terms of his robot mode. This one's very similar in terms of the way you do it. I'm just going to do it real quick. You just take that off. It's actually the same exact process, including taking off the shuriken, because you're going to be needing that for another mode. But it's basically the same process. See, it takes seconds. And so here they are next to each other, and there's obviously yet again the differences in terms of size and whatnot as you usually get. And then like this shows more like individual little cannons, almost like a Gatling gun. This one doesn't. But to be honest, there's actually something I like better about this one. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it just looks a little bit more streamlined to me. I don't know. It's a personal thing. I definitely think Paonmaru looks better in the elephant department, and he definitely has some more details going for him here, but there's just something I like about the little mini robot mode a little bit more. So now let's go ahead and we will now cut to doing the Megazord mode. So now we are back. We'll set him aside since he just got his minute in the sun. We'll take a very quick look at these guys, and then we will combine them all. So yeah, they're very basically redone. This one is all gray instead of all white. You have green here instead of black. Very basic. This was actually one of my favorite little things about the Ninja Steel Megazord, but it just looks kind of boring here. The truck still remains a hot mess in terms of the way it's designed, but now it's just green and orange, and it looks... Like I said, they could have done so much cooler things. I actually kind of like the gold color on this, but that's really about it. The train, again, the same. If you see my Ninja Steel Megazord, you've seen all this, so I'm sorry if I'm not going over in as much detail, but it's the same exact thing. They're just an orange and green and slightly gold recolor. And then the dragon, like I said, he doesn't come with his tail or his wings. I mean, they could have done like a full-on weird. Give him elephant ear wings and a tusk tail. Like, add little details to make these worth it. Make it more than a repaint. And honestly, I still think if they would have done that, it would have been a bad decision for people, especially with money being tighter, to have to buy it all. But it would have made it a cooler niche thing. Niche? Anyway, let's Megazord it up. I don't know why I brought him in here because I'm just going to do this. So, same process here. Unhook these, unhooch. Do that. Place the dog in. There you go. For this, yank this piece off. Put his legs in. And don't worry, after we do this mode, I will show what the Elephant Zord looks like inside the regular Megazord. And then take a look at it compared to Shirk Engine Pound. I think that's the way you say it. So attach this to the side. This one's easy as well. Actually, I don't even need to do much. I keep thinking it's like the other one where they hid the arms, but they didn't do that. Oh, and this piece, every time I go for it. Okay, so this is easy. We just kind of went through this with the warrior mode, but take that aside. Take these off and pull his head up. And then you're going to basically put this back on, and he's going to sit in there just like Red would have. And just leave the little controls behind his ears. The Japanese version has little tiny holes to put in his hands, like he's holding it a little bit, which isn't a huge deal, but it just kind of worked more. It's a really small thing. Again, that's less plastic that you could have had. It's just, like I said, I want to know why certain smaller decisions were made. But part of the reason he probably doesn't have the wing or tails is because this is his weapon now. The sort of back end of the elephant, there we go, becomes these axe weapons. There we go. So, which is neat, but it still could have included at least the wings. I get, okay, maybe not the tail. Don't do my trunk tail. Maybe that would have been too weird because you're going to have these weapons, but just give him the wings, man. So, all right, now we're just going to set this on top. Oh, that was a thing. Press too hard. Classic me. There we go. Okay, so there you have it. Let me sort of pull his arms up. And there you have it, the Rumble Tusk Megazord, the way he looks in his green formation. Part of the reason that happened and I left it in is because I was going to mention, this one is like weirdly, I don't want to say top heavy, but the joints on this for me are really loose. And they have a hard time standing without slouching, and then things like that happen as well. So just kind of watch out for that. I didn't have that problem with the Ninja Steel Megazord. But yeah, overall, I do like the way it looks. I mean, it's basically the same Megazord, so you're basically getting the same exact look you'd be getting with the regular one, just all green, but I do kind of like it. Like I said, I wish you didn't have to buy it, but for display purposes, it's kind of cool to me. I wish the darker green accents would have been brought down a little bit. Like, I get where they were going for, and it worked with it pulling the main elephant forward because of how bright it is. But I wish there was a little bit more of a balance there, for sure. But yeah, it also, since it's the same mold, it does retain that articulatedness, so you can sort of get it in some articulated poses and stuff like that. So, yeah, let's go ahead and actually show it in the proper Megazord. Very easy stuff to do. Just take his axe weapons from him, take his head from him, and take the middle piece away. I guess I'll have to take the whole thing because I'm trying to think what they're called. The joysticks were holding on to them. Okay, so here's the main Megazord. You're just going to put them in like you normally would. Sort of position these. See if I can get Elephant on there without messing anything up. There we go. Again, they're sort of out like that. He's going to take the weapons as well. Same exact mold, so it's like it's the same thing, honestly. Honestly. Okay, and oh, that's going to come off. There we go. And the head, I guess you're going to want this up. There we go. And the head. And there you have it. That's the way it's going to look in the show. The only other prep you have to do is everything else needs to be the same, but just take red and put him like you would if you were to have him as the sidearm mode for Dragon, and he actually stores on the back very easily, so that's nice. So yeah, there he is. I'm going to get this husk out of the way. So that looks fine. It looks all cool and stuff, like normal, all that jazz. That, like I said, will be the way it should look in the show. I'm not going to say never, just because if I do, then it'll happen, but you never know. Maybe they'll tint it in the show. Doubt it. But now let me go ahead and just bring in the counterpart here. Here they are together. The two of they are together. I am good at the English. So, yeah, you can see the main differences are pretty much what you would see on their own. The faces are largely the same. There's just a little bit more of a darkness and a sheen to the Japanese one. And obviously you still have that headpiece on there, which again, part of me prefers this more streamlined look, personally. The color on this is a bit darker. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, I kind of wish they would have made this darker. Maybe instead of bringing up the darkness of the rest of the Megazord, maybe bring this down. But yeah, that's the main differences there. So overall, this is a weird one, for sure, in terms of getting to a final verdict. Like I said, they should have made something, if they were going to do this, make it more different. Change the molds just a little bit to make them actual different Zords. I think it was a huge mistake to make this the only way. I'm really hoping for people that they release a 3-pack of this UFO and was it Surfer? Like at Toys R Us or something, and you don't have to buy the Megazords. Or if they would have just done that in general, had an individual and then a full Megazord release. Because there are things I like about it, but I just can't, you know, get behind that for most people. Like, because personally, I like stuff like this sometimes, so I don't mind filling out my shelves with it. But, and also, it comes into the weird money factor, too. This is a really weird year, where usually I can recommend things based on you're going to save money. Because, like, in the case of the Ninja Steel Megazord, Shuriken's about double the money, still. But the Morpher, you can actually get the counterpart for cheaper, even though it's not a Morpher. So then there's a weird back and forth there. But in the case of this, you can probably get Paonmaru cheaper. So it's weird because you'd have to buy Ninja Steel or the Shuriken first, which is more expensive, but you can get Paonmaru on his own for cheaper. So yeah, it's weird. So overall, everything about it's not the worst, but the way that they released it is probably a terrible decision. That was just a really weird way of saying it. My overall thoughts is it's overall a bummer. But anyway, until next time, make sure you got the Crazy Podcast at writersrangerambles.com. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Writer, signing out.